Hi, we're with the maggots now.
Marry me, weirdos! Tonight we're going to be talking about everything we love about Evil Dead Rise. And we love so many things about Evil Dead Rise, as you can tell by our cosplays. So I'm doing Deadite Mia, which is actually from the remake. But, whatever, guys. And
Hi, I'm Danny Deadite.
and
Ellie.
Danny's Ellie from the movie. All right, let's see who we've got in the chat. We've got Zigma and Hightower Media. What up? Jason, the nice one. Tori's here. And Ronan says, how goes a Gory B Movie? And everyone in the chat, been better. Feeling a little rough today. You don't look so good.
Yuckies in your tummy.
Mummy B Movie says we look good. And Jason says, I have triggers when it comes to children in peril. I was scared for this one. I made it through. It was the artistry and the dedication of the whole production team and cast that made it for me. And Aaron's here, and Aaron also likes our makeup. Yeah. We're gonna get you, not another peep. Time to go to sleep. Sleep. Okay, we're gonna stop trying to creep you out.
Oh, no promises.
Okay, you know what? No promises. All right, so we saw Evil Dead twice now, Rise, and I think I liked it even more the second time around. This movie is really well paced. It starts off pretty quickly. It does a great job. We'll just start with that opening scene that hooks you immediately.
Yeah, Evil Dead Rises literally like that title screen is beautiful.
Yeah, so we have a group of kids. They're going to a cabin in the woods, which is, traditional for Evil Dead.
Mm-hmm.
And this trip is cut short, quite literally.
Yeah, they're not there very long. And this guy's playing with his drone. He's being a real dick to this girl that's his girlfriend's like best friend, I guess. So she's like, I don't want to hang out with this guy. So she goes to check on her best friend, who's laying in bed, and basically says, you need to wake up or I'm going to go ahead and just bounce. But then she starts reading Wuthering Heights.
And the scene we get is very much an homage to a scene from the original Evil Dead, where Linda is trying to see if she's psychic and trying to predict what the cards Shelley's holding are. And then Cheryl, who's now possessed, knows immediately every single card. So in this one, it's done differently, which I like. It's an homage, but it's unique. Mm-hmm. Teresa, I think that's her name, is reading Wuthering Heights and waiting for Jessica to wake up. And then all of a sudden, Jessica is reading the lines that are in the book without seeing it, with her back completely to her friend.
She can see what Teresa sees, and she can read it out loud to her. And it gets creepier from there.
Yeah, and we start off with just, I mean, this movie immediately just like punches you in the face with gore and violence. Like, okay, so if you can handle this, then you know you're probably going to have a good time. But it basically, it's like the scene to clear out anybody who's not going to have a good time. If you don't want to see people getting scalped or cut up or anything freaky like that, then you know that opening scene tells you right away whether or not this movie is for you. If you're like, oh wow, this is awesome, then you know, buckle up because it's going to get even better.
And often that's kind of the case with a cold open. It's like a test. Like, here's a little short mini movie before we get to the movie. But if you can't handle this, then yeah, you might as well leave.
So this movie was directed by Lee Cronin, who also did Hole in the Ground. And Lee Cronin is an Irish director. So this is partly an Irish production. It's also partly a New Zealand production, of course, partly an American production. So I do like that, you know, we've got like an international production crew on this one, which brings kind of a different flavor. We also have a completely different setting. Evil Dead Rise, I mean, yeah, Evil Dead has risen, you know, once again, but it's also in a high-rise apartment.
Yeah, high rise. Very Demons too. Sorry, just adjusting the girls.
What are the girls' names? Like Cheryl and Linda. Or
Yeah,
Linda and
go.
Linda. Ronan says, thanks for the live content. Was looking for something between the Night Watch, Zone, Killjoy, Jake, and Craven, something scary. Lo and behold, Gory to the rescue. You know, I try. And those are awesome guys. Awesome guys. Big fans of all of them. Wayne says, hi all. It stars Australian actress Alison Sutherland.
Yeah.
So yeah.
She's Australian, but she never like really comes off like, I don't know, her accent's good is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know what
I think she's believable as an American. So then after that scene, we get introduced to Beth. One thing that's cool about this movie is all the characters in this movie, aside from I think Caleb and Gabriel were two I couldn't figure out, but I might have just missed them. All of them are named after actors who have been a part of this franchise. So like Danny is named after the guy who plays Jake in part 2. Beth is named after Embeth, who was Sheila in Army of Darkness. Ellie is named after the woman who played Cheryl in part 1.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then we have Bridget and Mr. Fonda, both named after Bridget Fonda.
And Cassie's named after the woman who played Bobby Joe.
Yeah, there you go. Bobby Joe. There'll be more references to her later as well.
The cat is Bruce.
There you go.
Very cool. So instantly, like, they do a good job of setting up these characters, this family.
Yeah. They give you little parts of their personality. Now, I know that some people think that they might not have done it. For the amount of time that they have, I think they did a great job. I think that you kind of get a feel of for all three of these characters and kind of what they do.
I don't think anyone came into Evil Dead Rise because they wanted, you know, complex drama. And I think you need to look at the franchise too. If anyone is complaining about characterization, there's no characterization in The Evil Dead.
No.
They are just 4 friends who are out there, and I think you grow to root for them and love them just because of the great performances. Yeah. But we don't know anything about them except that I think Linda goes to Michigan State by her sweater.
Exactly.
In the second one, you just know that he brought his girlfriend out there and he had to kill her because she was possessed. This franchise is not known for, like, you know, adding the big characterization and the drama. If that's what you want, there are franchises that will give you that. Scream has very well developed characters. This is more about the horror, and it absolutely delivers the horror in a way that no other franchise does.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, you see the kids get to play around with each other. They have tickle fights. They, you know, they argue and fight as well, but they're very much real like siblings. I feel like they are.
I feel like the best characters in the franchise, honestly, are from the remake. I love Mia and David's relationship. I think they're great. I really liked all the characters in that. And in this one, yeah, we have very little time to get to know these characters, but it lets us know visually without like exposition. Like, don't you have your rally tomorrow? Like, you know, we know that one of them is, you know, she's a feminist and she's gonna go, you know, protest,
make America cool again.
Make Earth cool again.
Yeah, make Earth cool again. And that maybe a little, but she's a teenage girl. I mean,
But
come on.
yeah,
That's
she's
exactly.
a teenage girl and she wants her certain shirt there for it and stuff, The little one is making a doll called Stephanie, which is a staff that's sharp on one end
with Stephanie's head on the other.
With a doll's head on it.
Yeah, Stephanie the doll.
And Danny is into DJing and has a whole turntable setup.
And that's fine. I mean, what else would Danny be doing up in the high rise that's secluded away from like life? You gotta have a hobby. That makes sense.
Aaron says this one easily has the characters you care the most about. I don't want to see anything bad happen to this family. I 100% agree. Like, I think they're all very believable, but you see how like Bridget looks out for her siblings. Danny, looks out for especially the little one. They really look out for her. She is so cute. The little girl who plays Cassie. Gosh, what is her name? She is adorable. Nell Fisher. She's got a little lisp. She sounds a bit like Newt.
Yeah, a little bit like Newt.
She's just so quirky. Like she has to wear her swimsuit in the bathtub because she's afraid of jellyfish.
Yeah, she's afraid to get stung again. So she has to like make sure she sees underneath the water before she goes in.
She's just so quirky, and I think you just instantly love her. I want to say thank you to Ronan for the super chat. Said just show a little of respect and support. Both of your makeup was really cool, and I imagine it was fun to put on. Thanks, guys. Much love and respect. And for you, Ronan, I have a clip from this film.
Everybody here dies by dawn, Beth.
Dies by dawn.
You make it sound extra creepy when you do it.
Well, I'm not great at doing like a feminine voice. So I'm glad that there's like this dead-eyed voice that it's a little easier to copy.
It's creepy. Cassie is so cute, Jason. Hey, thanks, Jason. Other Jason, two Jasons. They are just quirky and really cute. And what I really like is they show an alternative family. And a lot of times when you see an alternative family, a family that's not in a middle class house and stuff, and with, the daughter who's a cheerleader and the son who's got straight A's, when you see a family where, they're a little punk rock, usually someone's doing drugs or something. And, there's plenty of very healthy, loving, functional families that are not what you would see on an 80s or 90s sitcom.
If it was one of those, they'd all be living like at the Full House or even the McAllister house, where it's unrealistic. Like where it's nice, like.
I liked Ellie a lot. She's really keeping it together. She's a tattoo artist, she's just trying to get by. Her husband has left her with 3 teenagers on her own. On top of that, the building she lives in is falling apart. It's going to be condemned. She doesn't have a new place to go. She doesn't seem to have a lot of people supporting her or looking out for her, but she's really holding it together. Even when she gets possessed, she is able to break through enough to tell Beth to protect her kids.
Yeah, before it really fully takes her. That's her last message out there. And she's not even expecting Beth. Beth kind of just shows up and with a scare and gets a slap for her trouble, but that's actually what would happen. So I'm glad they put that in the movie like that.
And Beth even says you always made time for everybody, even when you're super busy.
Yeah. And Beth has her own story. Is she a groupie? Is she a guitar technician? Is that what?
Why not both?
She's both. I don't think one negates the other, and I don't think it's great. Clearly there is a little hostility for her life choice that is becoming like this roadie type character where her sister goes around telling everybody, she's a groupie. Like she tells her neighbors that her sister's a groupie, and that's a little rude.
I think honestly she's a little resentful because they do talk about their mom a lot, and it's not in a positive way. And there's no talk of dad. And so I get the impression that Ellie raised Beth. She even calls her Bethy Boo.
Yeah.
I get the impression she basically raised her little sister. And I think she's a little resentful that her sister doesn't have time for her. Her sister's always on the road. She's always here and there. And she, I think, would like to have a sister who's in town and spending time with her family. And her way of expressing it, instead of showing any vulnerability and saying, hey, I miss you,
shame her a little bit,
is to basically say, you're a groupie. She might also be a little jealous that her sister gets to go on these adventures and put herself first and stuff. We don't really have anything in the movie that says it.
Yeah, but you just kind of read into it.
I feel like the groupie thing is her way of kind of being passive aggressive a little bit.
Plus, I think a lot of it might be recently like somewhat burned because she might have always thought that she went the better route with the husband and the family, like more traditional route. But now that has kind of fallen apart on her. So maybe there is a little extra resentment because, like, damn, maybe my life isn't like the better choice.
Maybe. I mean, she
I don't
seems
know.
really accepting of different lifestyles. I think it's just more built, kind of covering up some hurt.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I mean, like, you know, obviously she supports her kids in whatever they're doing. I also really like, and it's not ever said in the movie or anything, but you know, even just the casting of this movie. Like I said, we have an international cast. We got someone from Australia. We got, you know, people involved in this movie from all over the world. I like that, you know, traditionally evil. That I mean, they're a very small cast, so cut them some slack. But they don't tend to have a lot of diversity. This one definitely does. You know, there's a lot of people in the building, you know, who are Hispanic. Yeah. So, like, that's cool. And Danny is played by a trans actress, or actor. So that's really cool too. So
yeah.
And maybe the character is, maybe not, but I still think it's like, you know, the inclusion is really cool. And I think it would still work in this family because Ellie seems like somebody who would be really accepting of her, you know, her children's, you know, choices.
Yeah. Like they never address it. So like you said, we never know. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't like looked up people. So yeah. I wouldn't have known otherwise. So
but yeah, Danny, who plays Danny?
Morgan Davies.
Yeah, Morgan Davies. He's a good, you know, good actor. He does a really good job. He has to do some of the harder stuff in this movie. I mean, I feel like whoever reads the book kind of has to bite the bullet. And Danny's actually one of the few who I wouldn't say is stupid. I think he's careless because essentially they come back.
Well, they're going out to get pizza.
Mom sends them out to get pizza so she can explain to Beth that what happened with her husband, not have to do it in front of the kids.
Yeah.
And they go get Henrietta's pizza. Fun Yum. Easter egg there. I also love the Shemp Easter egg in Danny's room.
Yeah.
But while the kids are gone, there's an earthquake, and Danny's like, "Oh, there's a hole. Let's go in it." And Danny finds the Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, and decides to take it back. And I like you know, Bridget is being sensible. Like, you know, we shouldn't be taking stuff here. What are you doing? It's a creepy book. Don't open it. But you know, there's a lot of different personalities. I get the impression that Danny's usually the one who's like, "Oh, let's do this, you know, fun adventure thing," and Bridget's the voice of reason. And I think Cassie probably is just in the middle.
Probably when Cassie's around too. I think Bridget becomes a little more like, you know, defenses up. Maybe if she wasn't with the two of them, maybe. But when her little sister's around, she's gonna be like that.
Yeah.
Where Danny is way more inquisitive, wants to go explore and find things, and I can't blame Danny at all in this because I would have saw that hole and I would like known that there was a bank underneath at one point. I'd poke my head down there looking for stuff.
And Danny's a little shit. Danny, that's the reason why Cassie has Stephanie, is Danny told Cassie a story that there's like a ghost that if it hears coins in your pocket, it'll get you. So that's why she has to have a weapon. So it seems like, you know, Danny has a little more fun. Bridget's a little uptight, but responsible. And all the kids put the family first. And it's something I think they were raised with. At one point, they do start fighting, and Beth's like, "No, you don't turn on each other, no matter what."
Yeah.
You know, Danny's reason for taking the Necronomicon, he's like, "Hey, this looks maybe expensive. Maybe we can sell it because Mom's hurting for cash."
Yeah, and that's Danny's little reasoning, anyways, to try and get Bridget off Danny's back about it. So like, yeah, maybe Mom, because like, I don't know if Mom would want that. Like, he's probably locked up for a reason. I don't know. If I saw records, I'm not even a DJ or into that stuff, I would grab them. If I saw anything that looked valuable, I would grab it. If I saw a cool ass fucking book that was in a broken vault that had all these like crosses all over it, like it's like Annabelle in there or some shit, I would totally grab that.
I would too. I would just, for me, I would be like, this book looks so rad and creepy, and I'd want to have it in my room. But you know, that's teenagers. So, but the reason why I cut Danny some slack is Danny does play the records where they're translated in the book, and Danny is doing everything in his power to turn it off. Danny's trying to turn off the turntable. Danny's trying to even lift the needle and get shocked. Mm-hmm. So I feel like at that point, once Danny realized it was scary and dangerous, they tried to stop. But you know, these dead-end situations are complicated, you know?
The shit hits the fan quick with these situations, so they don't even have time to react sometimes, because damn.
Let's check in with the chat. Hey, Mayan's here. What up? Nice to see you. Thanks, Mayan. This is our Deadite cosplay. And how long did it take to put the costume on?
Been doing it all day.
It's been an all-day thing. It took a couple hours each. But totally worth it. We got to make blood, and we got to make
the makeup artist.
blisters from my burns here, and we got to make this cool cut. So it's been fun.
I went out to get my cosplay, but Gory is the makeup artist by far.
Thank you.
And I got us the contacts that I think turned out both well for both of us.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm wearing the shorts too.
Look at that booty. I love how you're so like into touching your boobs when you're dressed up as a girl.
What? Yeah. So obvious.
Good night, Wayne. Being a single parent myself, Ellie broke my heart. Yeah, I agree, because I was a single parent too, and it's really, really hard to not have anybody that you get a break down to. And she tried calling her sister, but she's still holding it together, which is really hard. You know, I've seen a lot of those, you know, more traditional families set in the middle class ones where they take it out on their kids, and here she is keeping it together for her kids, even like, you know, bossing her around saying, go wash my sweater and stuff, and she's still like, you know, you could do it too, but she does it for her because she's a good mom.
So she tells them not to ever use an elevator after an earthquake, and the first thing she does is use the elevator after an earthquake.
Oh, Torchbearer, I hope to see you at Crypticon this year. I will be interviewing Alex Vincent at his big panel, and I've got a Chucky cosplay planned. Nice. You know how much I love Chucky. Oh, Morgan is also from Australia. Yeah, there's a few people in here from Australia. I'm sure there's somebody in here from New Zealand too, because it was also produced by New Zealand. Yeah, just really cool, diverse, international cast, which I think is really
Very
cool.
international.
And considering how the cast is so small, like that's pretty impressive. Yeah, and they get pizza from Henrietta's, which is awesome.
Delicious.
Why didn't they just bring the pizza in? They just dropped it.
Yeah, just because it was still in the box. It was still good. It was edible. That was where the real curse comes from. That's what honestly probably did it all.
And Jason's birthday is tomorrow. Happy early birthday, Jason. We have birthdays pretty close together. My birthday's in a week.
Tauruses, I think.
And I agree, Torchbearer. Not as bad as reading from the book to impress a girl when you're high. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Time.
Also, he should know better, right?
He knows. He's been down that path, a long rabbit hole. That kind of irked me on the show. I love the show, but that part kind of irked me.
Dominic is here. Dominic's got band practice. Can't stay for the stream. Wanted to check in. Well, thanks for checking in, buddy. Awesome. Thanks, guys. What will Danny's cosplay be at Crypticon? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe Danny will be a Deadite. Why can't I talk today?
It turned out well. It took a long time to do, but it turned out well.
So yeah, I really like the cast. I think they're really charismatic, instantly likable. We have lots of different personalities. We even get to see a little bit of the building, and even just the snippet we get there. Like, I think it's so cute when there's an older brother, Gabriel, and there's two little ones, Jake and Caleb, I can't remember, but they come to the door, and obviously the one who's about Bridget's age has a thing for her, and he's like, hey, you want to, come over and watch all the Nightmare on Elm Street movies? And the little brother's like, even the shitty ones. He's like, there are no shitty ones. Like, instantly love this kid.
Yeah, I love how he's just mowing down on Cheetos as he's asking her out too. Like, but that's teenagers. They don't have a clue. That's just real life.
And of course, Bridget can see everything through the people. So like, you instantly like them. There's an older guy there who has a tree surgery business. So he's got a wood chipper and chainsaw.
Mr. Fonda.
Mr. Fonda. But even he's like, who are you? Like, he seems like somebody who like prides himself on knowing everybody, at least in his floor of the building.
Yeah, when he meets Beth, he's like, oh, the groupie. Well, pleasure to meet you. He's welcoming, but he's very, community watch type character. He's got his tools. That's what his job is getting rid of trees. So it makes sense that he would have a wood chipper. And then he also has a gun. He's probably the most conservative person in the area. That's fine, because it seems like we're having a diversity. You should have everybody. And yeah.
Zygmunt wants to know if that's makeup or did I really give you a black eye? He actually has 2 black eyes.
Cut me, Mick.
Your cut looks good. Show them your cut. So yeah, it's all gnarly. And then here's all my burns and blisters. I don't know how well you can see them in this light, but they're gross. They're gross. They peel.
I got a giraffe tongue.
Torchbearer is going to be doing Peter from Hereditary, Xavier from Wednesday, and Danny from Doctor Sleep. Very cool.
Nice. Come play with us, Danny.
So we've talked about the characters, and then it pretty quickly gets into the action of the movie.
Yeah.
Ellie gets possessed.
She went to go do the laundry. Same time, Danny's playing the records and can't turn it off when things start to get really creepy, and you have your typical.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, so it's kind of, it ties it into the other movies. Even though we're in a different location, we've always had that point of view of the Deadites, like that swirling camera in there. So we have that. And then she gets strung up with cables in there, which is a lot like the tree scene from the remake and the original.
And, you know, from the original, put that camera, nail it to a board, have 2 people run through the woods with it, all that kind of stuff. Just running with the camera. That's how it started. Then the remake, they had the zip lines. Now, there is one. I'm not a big fan on fake out scares, but there is a cool one in the very beginning of this where it turns out it's a drone.
I liked that. That was a clever reveal.
Clever
really
way to do a fake out.
The movie is also the good. I like the script a lot. I like when something's introduced and it pays off later on. So some of them I didn't even notice in the first time I watched it. Like when Ellie's asking for her scissors,
they're under the
Cassie's
bed.
like, I don't have them. Yeah. That comes back. So the
Stephanie
drone
itself,
thing.
she almost gets Bridget with Stephanie before it was like a time to actually use Stephanie. So
yeah. So if you all these little things come back, there's tons of fun Easter eggs, but at least I thought nothing called attention to itself. Like, it's an Easter egg. Like, I didn't notice the Henrietta's pizza thing the first time. I didn't notice the Shemp poster the first time. Mm-hmm. But they're there if you want it. I feel like if they wanted to pander to the audience, like, there's a shotgun at one point. They don't call it a boomstick. So I thought the stuff that they did was really subtle, and it worked for these characters in this setting.
Yeah. I mean, some of the setups are pretty obvious and clear. Like, there's a wood chipper, but like we said, we established why he has one. But yeah, when you know it, you're like, okay, that's probably coming back later.
I feel like there was also some homages to other great horror movies. Obviously, there's a big Shining one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have that too. You want to see it?
Let's see it.
The Shining one, because it's 65,000 liters of blood.
This gets back the record.
Yeah. So So the original record for the most blood in a movie was well earned by Peter Jackson, speaking of New Zealand, for Dead Alive, aka Brain Dead. That movie is like doused in blood.
That's what happens to the Kool-Aid Man when the wall's stronger than his glass.
Yeah. And then I think something else. Oh no, I'm pretty sure that one held it until Evil Dead 2013. It rains blood in the movie.
Yeah, and they use tons of chains. There's extra blood.
A quarter of the
so
budget went to fake blood, and then part of me wants to argue it, but they do claim in It Chapter 2 that they used more blood for a scene of a stall filling up. Mm-hmm. I didn't think it looked like that much, but that's what they claim. However, this movie brings it back.
Yep.
With so much fake blood.
And I like how, since they kind of got it from The Shining, that they used that Shining homage to get it back.
Let me get the exact number for you. It's 6,500 liters or 1,720 gallons of fake blood. That's so much fake blood.
Yeah. I like it.
I like it too. It's a lot of blood.
I like me some blood. Even like they've always upped it in this series because Ash got pipe broke on his face and his girlfriend's like blood splurted all over him. Second one, he shoots the wall when his hand's in it and just all his blood sprays him and gets him and then goes back in. And then the third one, it's not a whole lot of blood throughout the movie, but the gory hole itself, just shooting that giant geyser of blood, it's like they always up at every movie.
Man, I thought that you were a lady.
Good.
You make a nice looking chick, dude.
Danny with an eye is a lady.
You are. I also like, I think as a franchise as a whole, this is a really strong franchise. We've talked about that in our other What We Love About the Evil Dead franchise. That's why it's one of the fun ones to do this series with, because all of them are terrific. This one definitely lived up to the expectations of the franchise. And I think a big part of that is the continued involvement of Rob Tapert, producer, Sam Raimi, director, producer, not directing this one, but producer of this one, and Bruce Campbell, who starred as Ash, but also produced a lot of them. So
they're all consultants of it. Like, they're all help.
They're producers on
exactly.
this.
Like, they can go in there and be like, hey, this doesn't feel like the franchise. They've given these directors a lot of freedom, both for the remake and this one. But that's just how it is. Like, they'll make whatever little changes just to kind of make sure it stays in that franchise feel.
They want them to play around and have fun, but there's just a certain things. They're like, okay, well, you need a book.
It means the Book of the Dead.
And Lee Cronin quickly got their trust with this one. And also, like the ones before, this one's largely practical effects. There is some CGI in here.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is practical. Like, you can watch clips online of how they did the elevator scene, which is all practical, or when she's in the shower. So a lot of those, really dramatic, scary movements and stuff, that's all practical.
I still use a lot of practical, even though there's some CGI obviously added into this, but it's fine. It all works good, I think. Even the CGI doesn't look bad. And when there's blood splatter, it's real blood. I use real fake blood. Like,
it's real blood.
I don't like fake CGI splatter, like blood. Like, that just looks bad.
I'm okay with like CGI for fire and stuff, because one, it's just unnecessarily dangerous to put someone in, and you can do good CGI fire with enough of a budget.
Especially
but blood, just make some blood.
Exactly, especially when you want that record, right? You ain't gonna get that record with no CGI blood.
Thank you so much, guys. Jason says Lee Cronin really made this film his own, but showed so much respect for what came before and honored the legacy of Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. I 100% agree. And he says, I admire and respect Sam and Bruce for being truly artistic producers and not allowing the almighty dollar to command the artistry of the film. Yeah, no. I agree with that.
They have very little demands on what they want from it.
I think it's Brandy, but Brandy loves Danny with an
eye. Danny loves Brandy too. And Amy, if Amy's watching. Those girls are awesome. We adore you. But so you got to have that book, because it makes sense. That's like how this whole came about anyways. Like, Raimi learned about the Book of the Dead when he was doing some studies, like in college or something.
Taking a class in like Egyptology.
Yeah, some sort of that, and like learned about the Book of the Dead, and that's kind of what inspired this whole franchise. So you got to have a Book of the Dead. Now there's possibly 3, right? This is the one that bites Ash in Army.
Yeah, so it's also expanding the mythology a little bit. So if you look in, or if you watch Army of Darkness, or go back to our stream on that, at one point they send Ash to retrieve the book, and he has to say the words, Klaatu, Barada, necktie. And there's 3 books. He's like, no one said there's going to be 3 books. So he tries them out, and now Sam Raimi is saying that the book that had the vortex in it that like sucks him in, that's Mia's book from the 2013 film. The book that bites him is the book in this film that has like those teeth in the side.
Yeah.
Looks like there was a TV show back in the day, remember? Like Monster. It had like a monster book in it.
Yeah, and it also looks very Venus flytrappy, and especially when it like tastes a little bit of blood, it opens up like, ooh, more. Feed me more.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look exactly like that Army of Darkness one, which just had the face and it bit him that way, but still, I think it's cool. I love the teeth. I like that.
Yeah, Kevin is also not a fan of CGI blood. I especially hate when the CGI blood hits the camera.
Yeah, if real blood hits the camera, that's, especially in a found footage movie, that's fine. Even if it's this, because if you're using that much blood and so happens that it gets on in your shot and you have to use it, fine. CGI blood, that means you did that on purpose. No.
And he says, I think it goes to one of the recent Steven Seagal films. I 100% believe it. And Brandy says, our kids are watching too. They want to know if you both have wigs on. We do.
Yes.
It's a family affair here too. And see, like, that's another example. Like, like our family is different. We love horror and stuff, but I think we're a loving, happy family.
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't look like what you would see on Family Ties or something.
Yeah.
We love Brandy and Amy's family, loving, happy family. They love
Yeah.
archery and all. They want to be in our horror movies and stuff.
Yeah.
But so that's one of the things I love about this movie, and we don't see that enough. Like there's a movie called Devil's Candy that I thought did it really well. This movie, but I would like to see more of that because there's so many different kinds of families.
Exactly.
And like we just saw Missing, where the single mom had this like upper middle class house all to herself. It looked like something from like an 80s sitcom. I'm like, that's not that believable.
Yeah, right.
I liked that movie a lot too, but it's just, for the longest time, everything was like in the, the John Hughes movies and stuff. Everyone had like these big houses. Their parents had the same boring jobs. Everything was just a certain way.
What was Kevin McAllister's dad's job? Was he dealing like coke or something?
There was no variations at all, and the parents were just kind of like stock characters and we're not like people.
Right. I love how I keep bringing up the Home Alone one, but I love how that was a huge mansion that like this family lived in. But then in Space Jam, Michael Jordan lives in like this little nice niche house.
I know, right? That's one where I was like,
okay, really? Now he should have McAllister house.
Cal L says, Danny, you're a redhead. I'm shocked. My lipstick is running. We had a bit of a run-in with other people in our cabin, but it's all good now. Hey, Slasher in Suits is here. Nice to see you. This conversation is reminding me of the CGI shark.
Yeah, exactly.
Kevin's dad owned WCW. Laugh out loud. I don't know.
The old wrestling, probably. He's Ted Turner.
And Aaron makes a good point. I love that horror movies are putting kids in peril again. It's been missing for far too long. See, that's the thing. Like, with an Evil Dead movie, traditionally, everybody dies, except for in Army of Darkness, where they didn't die because, I don't know, that one's a lot nicer to them because even Sheila's fine at the end. But traditionally, Evil Dead 2, they had one survivor. There's not a lot of survivors at the end of an Evil Dead movie. So I knew when this one, they're bringing kids in, I was like, they're going to have to kill some of them kids.
Yeah. And yeah, they do. Some of them kids going to die. Somebody going to die. This has a highest, obviously not counting Army of Darkness, the highest extras and body count like that an Evil Dead has.
I feel so bad for them too. Like they have no idea what's going on until it's too late.
Yeah, just what? Like people it just pounces on you, and if you're just a spectator that just walked by the hallway at the wrong time, I love the camera angles too. They use that cool eye hole for the door.
Yeah, like the people.
They use that in a great scene. There's also strobing red light.
What the heck?
It just went maybe. I don't know. We use that for the orchard. I don't know why it's strobing all of a sudden.
It's possessed?
Yeah. There's a cool camera angle where it's half underwater, half above the water, like in the bathtub. There's just like the whole franchise has had good camera angles, and this is no exception. I still will always feel like that first movie did it the best mostly because they were just cramped in a tiny cabin. They had to.
It's being weird.
But
I'm turning it off.
It does not sour on this episode. This one as well. It still has great camera use.
Yeah, I thought the camera angles were really good. A lot of creativity there. Amy or Brandy, one of them says, it's actually really cool to talk about how it's a costume and the difference between fake and real. It's been awesome for them to see behind the scenes action interviews, costumes. Yeah, I think that's really cool, especially like when you watch movies and stuff. A lot of the Blu-rays and stuff now have special features. So even there's special features of how Evil Dead Rise was made. And it's really funny because a lot of times you read interviews with the people in these movies, and like Alyssa Sutherland in this, she's terrified of horror movies. She won't watch them, and she's a really scary character. I think what makes her so good in this, because the Deadites, they're a little different than your standard like Reagan possessed movie. I mean, they do say a lot of foul stuff, but they also
some
like
similarities, but they have their own thing.
They like to mess with you. They like, at one point she's like, "Oh, your dad's here, and we just want to come in and give you hugs and kisses." And her tone and everything, it's so perfect, and it contrasts so well with like this look.
And a lot of those exorcism movies, because we get them like once or twice a year, we get a bunch of those all the time. They usually have one person who's possessed, and then if it gets exorcised out of that person, it might escape into somebody else. Where this is a possession like the franchise, but it's more like a plague. Once they find a way into somebody to start it, and that person basically just has to cause kind of bodily harm to other people, then they're possessed too. It spreads like a zombie plague.
Yeah, it's an interesting, different kind of a creature than your typical possessed or zombie movie.
Yeah.
Deadites are really their own kind of thing.
Yeah.
I was gonna go somewhere else with that, and I can't remember where I was going.
Oh.
Totally lost my train of thought. There's a lot of really good body horror and scares in this. I think they do a good job of upping the ante without ever being gimmicky. There's a cheese grater on a lot of the posters for good reason. I think it's in one of the trailers.
It's on a shirt too. Kind of want that shirt.
It's really upsetting. I think the tattoo gun that's right in front of someone's eye, that one kind of got me. But just people eating glass, lots of stuff. Something else I wanted to talk about.
Cords.
Something else I wanted to talk about this movie that I think is really cool is it has really cool posters. So, I'll show you guys some of those. So I love this poster. Like a lot of the posters are kind of throwbacks to like old like 80s movie posters. I love this one, Kandar, which is the last word you say.
Exactly. Even if you're like, not just if you're an Evil Dead franchise fan, but I think if you like Demons and Demons 2, you'd probably like this movie too.
Here's another one. They did so many posters for this movie. I like this one a lot. I don't know if this one's a fan one or not, but I really think it's cool. It looks a lot like a Shout Factory cover.
Yeah.
I love this one, and it's also the cover of the score for the movie, which was really good. This is another scene in the movie that just gets me. Like, if you hate eye stuff, like the fly lands on her eye, and it just sits there, and then she blinks. It's just
You remember like that little like clip they'd always play right after the commercials for Eon Flux?
Oh, I have it. You ready?
Yeah. It reminds me of that cartoon Eon Flux. I love that though, because that's like a cool memory to have. Like,
I think this is the one most people have seen.
Yeah.
I love this one. It's such a cool like throwback poster. This is the newer one I think I've seen. And this is a fan poster, but I just really, really like it.
Yeah. The Book of the Dead is the elevator. That's really cool.
Yeah, it just seems like, the production crew is also like everyone involved in this movie is really having a good time, which is something you see a lot in horror movies. People are having a good time. Something else about putting the kids in peril thing that I think works really well is Ellie's prime goal in this, or what she wants, is for Beth to save her kids. She cannot save her kids. Yeah. She's already, gone. She's able to get in control of her body enough just to ask her sister to do this for her. And I think it really goes back to that relationship, where Beth's always had to come to Ellie. And this is like the one time Ellie's saying, you need to do this for me. I mean, she doesn't get a chance to really have this conversation with her, but she says, don't let it take my kids.
Yeah.
And Beth also found out at the beginning of the movie that she's pregnant. So like, it's kind of like this trial by fire on becoming a parent.
4 kids in danger.
Yeah, so she's got her unborn child, and then she's got, her nieces and nephew that she needs to look out for. And yeah, she has an arc where she has to learn how to take care of a family really, really quickly. Going from somebody who has, been a roadie and just kind of had to put herself first, to having to be somebody who has to step up and be the hero.
Yeah, and first they just think something bad happened to her, but they think she's sick. I mean, the neighbor thinks she got beat up, but they started talking gibberish, and then she was gone. They didn't realize what her message really meant until it was too late.
Yeah.
Because she's like, well, what can we do? Like, the stairs are gone, the elevator's broken, there's an escape ladder outside, but then it's like, that would only get you to this floor, and that floor is like not open and stuff. And it's like, she didn't know that how much danger her nieces and nephew was in. Like, initially
it seemed like they thought she might have been beat up or something. She's talking crazy, and then she dies. So they have no reason to think that they're in danger.
Exactly.
And then she wakes up and she's burning hot. So you think, okay, she's got a disease, or, she's really sick or something. By the time Ellie attacks someone, it's too late.
Yeah.
And even though we're in this high-rise apartment, they're in the city, there is still that claustrophobia that we get from the other movies, you know, because
exactly.
they can't leave this floor.
They are isolated. They might as well be a cabin out in the woods, you know, because they have no way of getting out like safely. It's going to be a struggle.
They're completely trapped there in this building that was already falling apart before the whole deadite situation.
And earthquake and
we
everything.
still, and I think there's something really scary about that. This idea of being trapped in a place where 50 feet from you, there's hundreds of people. They're in the middle of the city, you know, like they're so close to help to, you know, and they can't get help. They can't call anybody. The power's out.
No reception.
And so I think there's something really scary about that, because you have this false sense of security when you're in your own home and you're living in a city or even a small town. You think, well, the neighbors are just over there. I'm safe. And to be in the situation where you realize all of those safety things you thought you had are gone.
Exactly. Like she even shouts out to someone on the street, but they don't either hear or they just don't care. They're just pushing their cart, doing their own thing.
I have to go to Kevin's comment. For the record, roadies are absolutely heroes.
Don't get me started on singing that song.
Roadie.
Roadie knows what the roadie knows, and what the roadie knows is that he wears black clothes. And okay. I don't want to get you demonetized. I know the whole song.
I know you do. And the director said, Aaron, that the cat lived. So they didn't kill the cat, which is cool.
Reminds me a lot of from Alien. So
the
Jonesy.
cat does look like Jonesy. Actually, that's something I was going to talk about. There was a few things in here that I thought were homages to other films, like The Shining with the elevators. Yeah. The sheet over Bridget kind of reminded me a little bit of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
I think there's a few more. But like a few little things where it's like shows that not only do they love this franchise, but they love horror.
Yeah.
They love just great horror movies. So that's really cool.
Jonesy, the orange cat that hides in the vents and lives. There you go. So Bruce is kind of like that.
Jason says, I like when she has the headphones on. She's listening to the record and you can see it crawl. That someone's crawling behind her. Yeah, just really cool stuff like that. You can't look away from this movie for a second because it's so fast paced. So much happens so quickly. And that's why, I think people, when they're panicked and their adrenaline's running, they do things that if you're watching in a movie theater, you might think, okay, I wouldn't do that. But this all happens within like an hour. It goes just completely batshit. And so you're like, they don't even have a chance to get their bearings.
Yeah, like it hits you way too fast.
Like that scene, I was like, oh my God, the kids are alone in the other room. Go get to the kids. But I also thought, she's trying to figure out how to stop this. And it's all just come at her, just bam, bam, bam. It feels like they're just getting punched in the face over and over again. You feel so bad for these characters.
Well, like Danny knew that the record was creepy and stuff, but then with all the stuff with Danny's mom that was traumatized, Danny forgot all about the book and the record. It had to be reminded by Bridget about all that. Like, oh, I didn't do this, and then like starts to worry. They go check it out again, but like it seemed like it was just completely gone from Danny's memory, which. That happens when you get traumatized with something crazy like that. You forget what you were doing 5 minutes ago.
And I think it's done so well because we're really rooting for Beth. We really want the kids to survive. We want Beth, who just found out she's a mom, to make it. Yeah. I think we know Ellie's kind of done for, but I read some reviews that some people were like, hoping she'd get an exorcism, which I'm just going to tell you guys now, that does not happen in Evil Dead films. Sometimes the power of love can help you.
Your own will, in a sense.
Your own will. It usually has somebody
that will help you see.
Somebody who loves you. A memory of somebody who you love might bring you back if you're strong-willed enough. But no exorcisms are gonna work.
It's not like that. They do a prayer that doesn't help at all. They even say in the records that they tried doing exorcisms and it didn't work at all. It got to the point where the priests that came in to help do them all started getting possessed too.
Speaking of the record, I love that Bruce Campbell loves this franchise so much that even when it's not anything that he's gonna, like he had a little stinker at the end of the last one. You see his face and everything, and he says groovy, his iconic line. But this one, he has a real deep cut, couple real deep cut participations in this. One, he's a Foley artist in this movie.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where a character is literally eating a wine glass, and the crunching sound is Bruce ferociously eating an apple.
Yeah.
Like most actors would be like, I don't have time for this. Not Bruce Campbell.
No, he's help producing, he's help contributing. It's great that he's that like involved. That's why I feel like this franchise is still in good hands.
And the other thing he did.
Yeah, it's the Book of the Dead for a reason. Like, get it, burn it, because this priest on the record is saying how he wants to study it and it'll help the church for knowledge and stuff, and they're like figure all this shit out. No, it's they fucked up by reading the book and doing all this stuff. And
Kids are watching.
sorry, children.
God, did I?
I forgot kids were watching. Those kids are, by the way, have starred in my movie as well.
Those kids are awesome.
Yeah,
Those kids remind me of the kids in this movie.
Brandy and her lovely children are in my movie, Orchard Man, that I'm working on. So shout out to them. But yes, Bruce Campbell, Ash's character. It's supposed to be Ash, I guess, maybe.
Ash has been displaced in time, so
Yeah.
it could be.
Time traveling.
It really opens it up. And there's something I really loved on Instagram. There was a picture of Mia from the 2013 with Beth and Ellie from this one on Alyssa's Instagram. And she said, "Me with my blood sisters." I would love to see Beth from this movie and anybody else who might have made it.
Yeah.
Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. And Mia from the 2013 and Ash somehow get together. And I guess recently Bruce Campbell was, even though he said he retired the character, he said he's starting to miss Ash.
Yeah.
So
And Raimi told him to get his fat ass to the gym. So I think we're gonna get more Ash. I think there might be an animated project coming up too with Ash as well.
yeah. Chunky Jordy is here. I love Chunky Jordy. Speaking of international, we have an international gory hole right now because Chunky Jordy is from the UK, usually in bed right now, but they can't sleep. So we have the pleasure of their company in the royal. Anybody else? A little. Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of know from the trailers Ellie's gonna die. I mean, well, maybe not because Mia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really sad because you feel like she did everything for her children, and it's sad for them to have to see their mom like that too, because she's worked so hard. Like, she won't even talk about her husband leaving her in front of the kids to protect them, so that they can be happy and innocent about things that are horrible in the world for as long as possible, and then they have to see really horrific things happen to their family. Traumatizing things.
We find out when she's talking to Beth about it that happened about 2 months ago, and I think it's starting to feel which is sad because they have to move soon. But I think it was just starting to kind of feel like home again without him, and then Beth shows up and kind of brings it back up, and
well, you can tell that at least Cassie's up because she says I want Dad here.
Yeah, but
and then later on, Ellie says, she muses that. She's like, your dad is here.
Yeah.
So,
but I just meant that they were all laughing and playing and giggling, kind of starting to maybe move on.
Well, I think that's a credit to Ellie because Ellie,
exactly.
I think she works really hard to maintain a sense of normality. I think with moms not freaking out, then the kids kind of feel safe. She doesn't freak out. She keeps it together, So I think that's another reason why this is so terrifying for them, because they've probably not seen their mom out of control like this.
Yeah.
It's not her fault. She's possessed by a dead eye. And I'm glad that they seem to figure out pretty quickly that it's not her.
Yeah.
Because, she's a really cool character. Jason says, OMG, the cheese grater. I was eating my popcorn when that scene happened and I spit out and put my popcorn down for the rest of the film. My husband made fun of me for the rest of the night. That's hilarious. Feel bad for the people in front of you. Connie's here. The harsh truth is here. The kids being in peril made it better. I agree. You got the emotion. They got you emotionally involved with the characters before the fun stuff starts. That's what made the movie way better for me. I really loved the characters in this. And it's sad because you see all these characters and there's not a character I didn't like. And so, like, a lot of times in a horror movie, there's like, oh, I don't like that guy. And so you're like, yeah, go kill that person, Jason. And this one, I didn't want anybody to die. I liked everybody. And it really raises the stakes.
I mean, in the cold open, that guy was
okay. The guy in the cold open was a douche.
Once the movie gets going and all the main characters, take or leave, even some of the side characters, I still thought they were all pretty likable.
Oh, the two boys are going to have their Nightmare on Elm Street.
I thought they were all pretty likable. Even like Gabriel and Mr. Fonda, they all seemed likable. So, but I had a feeling they're all gonna die. Like them, then the side character gonna die.
And we,
So-
our girl Becky, Creep It Clean, is here. Yay! Becky likes her makeup. Jason wants to know, what's your guys' favorite Evil Dead movie, the first or the second one? Maybe it's Army of Darkness. Maybe it's I think they're all great. My favorite would be probably Evil Dead 2.
that is my favorite movie in general. Not even in this franchise. Evil Dead 2 is my
Oh,
favorite movie.
kids want to go take a bath, so swear all you want,
Yeah,
Sailor.
I saw that.
Bloodsport's here.
What's up?
So we've talked about the characters a lot. We talked about the scares. We talked about the stunts and the visuals. What was the? I don't want to give too many spoilers because this one's pretty new. How
We've
do you?
been doing spoilers pretty much this whole time. We
Not
haven't.
big ones. I've
Not
pulled
the
back from
ending, I
saying who
guess.
dies and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't talked about anything that's not in the trailers. Granted, the trailers show a lot, guys.
Especially now, apparently. Like they didn't show much when I saw it, but now I hear they show more.
Yeah, I agree with what Aaron said. The side characters give you false hope for the children surviving, which they may or may not survive. But yeah, I was like, well, there's more of a body count here. Because initially I thought, this is horrible. All these kids are going to die. But, you know, there's other characters. So you're like, okay, well, maybe the whole family can get away. There's enough. It's an Evil Dead movie. People got to die. So.
Yeah. I think it'd be a little too convenient if the whole family could survive something like that. But that's just me.
Like everybody in Army of Darkness lived. Henry the Red.
It still had
Ash,
the highest body
Sheila.
count just because like it was an army versus an army. But I mean, yeah, all the main characters lived in that, which is weird because usually main characters do not. All of that. But Evil Bruce died. Exploded.
And guys, now's the time to get your questions in because we're gonna be wrapping it up here in probably about 10 minutes or so. What are some things you like about the movie that we haven't talked about?
Haven't talked about.
Well, yeah.
Kids being in peril, like you said. There's a part where Cassie kind of gets pulled under a garage car door, and it's funny because it's like she was kind of giving me some Sherry vibes from Resident Evil 2, the little girl, and which happens in that game. But in that game, you have to go find like a convoluted like key card, and then go find some puzzles, and then you finally can go save her. Nah, Beth's like, screw that. I'm just gonna kick this weak part of the fence down and like shoot it and get through. Which that's what you should have done in the video game.
I love the dedication to just being disgusting in this movie. This movie does not hold back. There's 3 different colors of puke in this. Like I was just like,
the white's the grossest.
you get the gory slow clap for that one with the chunks in it.
That was like bugs
with
too.
the chunk. Oh my god, there's bug puke,
bug chunks in the black.
blood puke.
The color is not as gross, but yeah, the bug part. That's why she gotta eat the glass to get rid of those buggy buggies.
Yeah, the Book of the Dead. We talked about the Book of the Dead itself a little bit. Bloodsport. Yeah, awesome. I love the teeth on it. I really hope we get to see these characters again, whether it be, you know, with Ash or Mia. I would like to see a continuation of sorts with this movie because traditionally 1 and 2 follow each other, and I guess you know, the first 3 follow each other, and then we got kind of a reboot with. You know, I'm peeling. We got a reboot. Sorry, my blisters are all gross.
And then we got the show.
Yeah, so I feel like I've gotten really attached to the characters, and I'd love to see characters, you know, that we loved before come back. I hope we get to see these characters again.
Yeah, and the comics and video games have showed that there's ways that different dimensions can cross with each other and they can interact with each other. So I'd like to kind of see that. Even the show kind of like did a little bit of that. So I'd like to see some of that with these movie characters.
Did you have a favorite character?
Obviously.
I'm Cassie 100%. The kid's awesome. Kid rules. Her
There's
little
always-
goggles for the bathtub. It kills me.
There's always like that iconic Deadite in each one, and I just think Ellie killed it. Literally.
I think I mean, obviously there are other Deadites in the movie. I'm not gonna tell you who they are. But Ellie is definitely up there with some of the best Deadites. You know, the best ones being Henrietta, Cheryl,
Yeah.
Evil Ash, Mia.
Yeah.
Definitely she can hold her own.
Yeah, she is this one's icon. MVP, the MVP of Deadites. They always have one.
Yeah, she's a really, really great Deadite. I think she's really, really effective.
And I just feel so bad for the character, but also just totally love how brutal the Deadite version of her can be. So, yeah.
And scary. This movie
Oh,
is
scary
really
shit.
scary and gory. And it's not just gore scares. There's a lot of other, there's
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you get the full, arrangement of scares. You've got jump scares, you've got gore scares, gross out scares,
Mhm.
you've got just really creepy imagery, like the opening scene where she's rising out of the water is so
it's so cool. I love that.
horrifying. And other scenes like that, just the makeup is really scary. There's images in this movie that I think are going to stick with you. But what I think separates the Evil Dead films from, like something like The Exorcist is these movies are still a lot of fun. Like you get scared, you go on this ride, but I feel like at the end of it, you had a good time.
Yeah, definitely. Also, much as I love The Exorcist, like great movie, I never felt like Reagan was a physical threat in a sense. Like she was tied to the bed, and even if she wasn't, she doesn't come at you the exact same way a deadite does. A deadite will fucking pull out your eyeball and throw it in someone else's mouth. They'll bite out your eyeball.
I love that homage to Bobby Joe swallowing the eyeball in part 2. Bobby Joe!
Bobby like spit like 3 times in that movie before that. That's the one time she swallows is the eyeball.
Aaron says, I like Lee Cronin's model on Evil Dead sequels. The characters don't get enough of a break from the terror to experience PTSD. It's just constant. Yeah, I like to think of it as just them being punched with the horror in the face repeatedly to where you don't get a chance to even pick yourself up. And it does the same thing to the audience. It's just like this nonstop roller coaster ride. And I think that's why it's so fun, is it is scary, but it's like a roller coaster where you're like, oh, I made it and I'm perfectly fine. It's the best kind of horror movie in that you get to experience all these scary things, but at the end of it, you're fine. You had fun. It's not a movie that, even though there are kids in peril and stuff, I feel like the movie and a cat, the movie does a good job of scaring you, but at the end of it, even though I guess a lot of sad stuff happens, I guess just the tone of this movie, it ends in a way that I think is fun.
Yeah, it's fun regardless of how violent and stuff it is. There is some fun.
I guess because the Evil Dead movies don't dwell on the sad stuff. Like, I mean, even like the first one, like, I'm sad Linda and everyone died, but it ends with Ash, screaming. And yeah, I guess just the focus of these movies, it's usually just takes place in one night. So it's not the kind of movie where, you have time to even mourn any characters who die. So you end it on a good note.
Yeah, I mean, you really just focus on all this physical harm that comes to them. But yeah, I mean, if you want to really think about any of the people who might have survived this, they're going to have so much like trauma.
I was thinking about that, but I think when you get to the end of this movie, you're just happy that whoever does survive, that they're there, that at least somebody lives.
It's like
somebody usually does live.
You saw so much cool shit, but you couldn't breathe, and then finally you get that breath of air, and then you're just happy because you can finally breathe again.
All right. One last comment from Aaron. I would love to see a sequel pick up right where this one ended. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, this is Evil Dead Rises for a reason. It feels like this left, like, there have been cliffhangers in a sense, and there's technically even, like, it's like Evil Dead 2, when Ash shoots the demon thing out of the sky, it lets you know that there's still Deadites out there. But usually it feels kind of wrapped up story somewhat. Like, this one's like, no, the cat's out of the bag. That is
the cat's in the wall.
Exactly. Now you're talking my language. But that's the whole point. This is like the rising, so I want to see where this goes.
Also, some people were upset. I'm going to tell you now, it's not a huge spoiler. The Oldsmobile that's been in all the movies is not in this one. I think it's because Sam Raimi didn't direct it. I think with 2013, they were trying to let you know, it's okay, he's still involved. Mm-hmm. But they did homage it with the color of the chainsaw. So that's why it's that particular color.
Plus, I believe in the remake, that wasn't actually his car anyways.
Well, it's the same model.
Yeah, but it wasn't physically his car that he loves
it's
to
not
put.
His car.
He always puts in his movies because
homage.
Yeah.
Plus, that's the cabin where Ash has been. So
exactly.
I think
it makes more sense to see that there, where it would have felt really shoehorned in this.
It really would have.
I'm okay.
Did you have a favorite quote from the movie?
Yes, I do.
What's that?
I'm free. I'm finally free of all you titty-sucking parasites.
Yeah, so me.
I feel like this is a very quotable movie. It's not going to be Army of Darkness quotable, but there's some good quotes in this one. There's also like where I just wanted to cut up all your bodies and then crawl inside so we could all stay to one happy family. Like this is time. I love the shit that she says to her kids. It's so messed up. Nothing a big old kiss and hug from you won't fix. Like
she's got a lot of great quotes in this movie.
Yeah, that's why she's my favorite character.
Bloodsport says, "Mommy's with the maggots now."
Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah, Ellie's got a lot of, and her line delivery, I think, is what makes a lot of her lines so memorable and iconic. And I think this is one that definitely has earned its place to stand alongside the rest of this franchise, which has just been perfect. You know, every movie, the remake, the series, I think it's just going to continue to be awesome as long as Bruce Campbell and Sam Raimi are involved.
When you hear that Deadite voice with her voice, it almost sounds kind of like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs. So
That's where I was. Your voice was reminding me of something. It was reminding me of Buffalo Bill.
Yeah, which is creepy because Buffalo Bill is so yeah, I love it though. I thought this movie was great. This franchise continues to be amazing. Can't wait for more. They plan on hopefully giving us these like every 5 years now instead of every 10 years.
Traditionally, we've gotten a new Evil Dead movie every decade.
Yeah.
Sam Raimi says he would like to make that every 5 years instead of every 10 years. He's also, I mean, this just shows his dedication. He's working on a Bible for the franchise. So, you know, in case one day he's not around or whatever, people will have kind of his book on what he would have done, you know, or if he's just not involved. Just to pass on to anybody else who wants to, you know, make movies in this franchise in the future, which I think is cool. He's told Bruce Campbell to get to the gym, and the picture he showed him had him with Mia. So, you know, not a long time ago, but about 8 years ago, there was talk of Ash and Mia being in a film together, and then they did the series instead.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they're in talks with that again. Enough time has passed. I know for a while there, Jane Levy wasn't really interested, but then she just went to the premiere and took a picture with the gals from this film. So I have high hopes that, you know, we're going to see Bruce Campbell again, hopefully see Mia again. And it seemed like everyone who made this movie had a lot of fun. So hopefully, you know, they'll come back too.
Yeah. Sometimes they come back again.
I like this universe we're building. And
exactly.
With this universe, you know, anything's possible. How many Lindas have we had? Even if you die, that doesn't mean it's the end of that character.
It doesn't matter who's played Linda. I've been fonda of them all.
Hilarious. Who's your favorite Linda?
That's just for that joke. No, what's her name from part 2?
I like Bridget Fonda just because she got the gig because she was a massive fan.
Yeah, and that's so cool because, like, oh yeah, you sure you want this small part? Yeah, okay, we're happy to give it to you. Just like they were all like kind of shocked.
I say one from part 1 just because she's a great Deadite too.
True. She's very creepy as she like sits there and mocks them.
Jason says, thank you, Gory and Danny. So much fun. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
And Denisha's here. And if we see Ash, they better follow up on the cliffhanger the series ended on. You know what? Okay, so that's my last question for you. What would you like to see next in an Evil Dead movie? There has been so many teases of Evil Dead in the future. The series kind of ended that way. That's kind of the original ending for Army of Darkness. Play with time travel, but this time go forward.
Well, with the show ending, Ash went to the future. That's kind of where Army of Darkness was originally supposed to go, but they had to backtrack a little bit, which I'm glad they did. But I guess from there, that Ash from the future, where time travel maybe is possible to go backwards as well, gets somehow displaced, and that's why we hear his voice in the record. I kind of would like these just kind of to tie up somehow, like kind of cross them over. Have some sort of tie up with time travel, but also just Deadites running a fucking muck like everywhere.
Amok.
Like that's kind of what this movie also hints that's the Deadites they're risen. They're gonna go everywhere now.
Well, and that's the thing. Wherever the book goes, there can be Deadites.
Exactly, and there are Deadites that are out there in the wild at the end of this.
High Tower Media gave us a super chat. Thank you guys so much for watching and for the donation. We need to pick something special for them. Here.
Groovy.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
We do very much so. Cyborg Deadites, AI Deadites. So yeah, I think also if there's more frequent movies, I think it's going to help build the fan base a bit more. Because I think a lot of people who love these movies maybe, you know, loved them since the 80s. But I like that they're kind of getting a new fan base now with like, you know, younger people who are maybe saw this movie and that was their introduction to it, you know, people who loved the 2013 one and that was their introduction to it. So I think there are like new fans for it now.
Exactly. And
I'd like to see more.
It's cool that it's making money. Like the franchise is doing well.
Yeah, it's doing
this
really
didn't
well.
topple Mario, but it still did really well. Like it's doing really good up there.
If they had one of those great, you know, banger songs like Peaches, I think it could have.
Yeah, Peaches. But
Deadites.
Dead by dawn. Anyways, I've always been a huge fan, and I love how the world built has, because I am that nerd. I bought the video games, I bought the comic books. I've been a huge fan of the world building that's been going on, but it's just nice that it's kind of becoming more like horror's being like doing well in general at the theaters. Horror is doing good right now, and I love that. I love obviously my franchise that I really am into is getting some like love as well out there. So I just want to see where they go with it.
Well, Danny, let everyone know here what you're doing over on Horror Addicts.
All right. Well, tomorrow we will be doing our Monday review as usual.
The Pope's Exorcist, which, guys, it's totally not Russell Crowe, but tell me when you watch this movie again, you hear the preacher on the vinyl, tell me that doesn't sound like Russell Crowe.
Sounds a little bit like
it
Russell
sounds
Crowe.
like Russell Crowe.
And that's what we're doing. The Russell Crowe exorcism movie. We're gonna
The Pope's Exorcist.
Yeah, you'll see. They advertised it all over WrestleMania. I know all about it. But you'll see our opinions on that tomorrow at 7 o'clock at Horror Addicts.
And a lot of updates here on the Gory B Movie channel. This is my last stream for the month. Not forever, baby. I have a lot of stuff going on. My birthday, Mother's Day, and Crypticon Seattle are all within like days of each other. So I have that to look forward to. I'm interviewing Alex Vincent at Crypticon, which I'm a massive Chucky fan, so you guys know like how cool that is. I'm also working on an upcoming schedule for the summer and the creepy channel crawl, guys. 24 hours of live streams. So I got to get that ready for you guys. I got some more video content that I want to get done. So yeah, I'm taking off the rest of May to get all this stuff done, but I'm going to come back with even more cool stuff for you guys. The next live stream will be June 1st with Bloody Book Club. So I hope to see you guys there.
Yes.
And you'll still catch me over on Horror Addicts.
Of course, you'll be
And if you're a part of the B Movie Coven, we've got a movie watch party on the 16th where we're going to hang out, celebrate my birthday, and watch Deep Rising. So, you know, if you miss me.
Well, Rich is in the chat. He tells us that we shouldn't have played with the Necronomicon. When your option is play with the Necronomicon or don't play with the Necronomicon, you play with the Necronomicon.
All the posters at my school told me reading was fun.
Reading is an
adventure.
And
all right, a couple more comments from the chat. Movie Massacre. Mummy B Movie. It was so nice to see you. My birthday is May 17th. It's coming up.
Yeah, like 3 days after Mother's Day.
And we'll, if you're in the B Movie Coven, that's our channel memberships here. We're going to be watching Deep Rising the day before, so that'll be super fun. Movie Massacre. Oh, we're also going to be visiting Movie Massacre too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mummy remembers my birthday. Conda. Yeah, last year I interviewed Christine Elise and Fiona Doruff. So this year I get to interview Alex Vincent. So
he was supposed to be there last year.
He was, but I was super excited. It's gonna be cool. We're gonna have so much. We love Crypticon so much.
Yeah, I love how he.
Oh, and if you guys are in the Seattle area, Crypticon Seattle is the 19th through the 22nd. You can still buy tickets, and you'll see us there. We do panels, and you know we'll just be hanging around too.
Yeah, I want to like mention real quick like why he wasn't there. It's sad because, you know, in a sense, he got COVID and that sucks. But it's funny that he got
COVID? I thought he just got sick. I thought he got concert crud.
Oh, maybe it was concert crud. I heard it was COVID.
I heard
either way,
crud.
he went to 7 Nine Inch Nail concerts back to back, and that's why.
Yes.
It would have been even funnier though if he went to 9. He was on his way, but he didn't quite make it.
He might have finished. You don't know.
9 Inch Nails.
Yeah,
so
Crypticon
cool.
is our anniversary.
Yes,
so guys, thank you so much for all of you who have been participating in the conversation here in the chat, for celebrating this really fun movie with us. A lot of you have already seen it. If you haven't already, do check it out. We both highly recommend it. And hopefully we'll see you tomorrow over on Horror Addicts. And until we meet again, blessed be Dead by Dawn.
Dead by Dawn. Dead by Dawn.
Everybody here dies by dawn, Beth.